Hey, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Prefect Live. I'm here today with Andrew Huang. Say hi. Hi, Andrew.
Hey.
Hey, welcome on Prefect Live. I really appreciate you coming on. I've really had a, I mean, you're relatively new to Prefect, and
hmm
I've had a really, really great time working with you so far. I think you're really knowledgeable. And you were telling me earlier something interesting about yourself that I wanted to share with the group. You
Uh-huh.
have an interesting degree.
Yeah, I have an atmospheric sciences degree, bachelor's and master's, and then slowly pivoted it into the Python world because of that degree.
That's that's really really cool. Did you always like? Did you want to be a meteorologist? Like, what is the background? Did you want to be like a weather scientist in some way?
Uh, so I was initially rejected from engineering when I was in high school.
Oh, got
So,
it.
um, I entered college as an undeclared major. Um, as I was exploring, I had this really passionate professor, Eric Snodgrass, and he gave really passionate talks about severe weather, and it really intrigued me. So, yeah, I got into atmospheric sciences thanks to him. And then once I was in atmospheric sciences, I did a lot of data analysis with Python, and slowly and more slowly, I got into Python. And that's how I ended up at Prefect.
That's really cool. That's a really cool origin story. Shout
Yeah,
out to Eric too for I think
yeah,
being yeah
definitely.
and being the force that kind of got you into Prefect in some way through
Yeah. hmm
that interesting journey. I love talking about people's
hmm
journeys. You still follow like weather a lot, or
Uh, to be honest, not as much, but I would love to like storm chase. I'm really big on photography.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of my own sunset chasing,
Very
basically
nice.
going out to see the sunset every so often if I forecast it to be a good sunset or something like that.
That's really awesome. Really,
Yeah.
really cool. Cool. So why don't you tell us, before we bring up your screen, let us
hmm
know what we're planning to do today. I think you've got like a blog post coming out soon. We're kind of doing a little bit of a teaser here.
hmm
So yeah, what are we going to be doing today?
Yeah. So today, are you able to see my screen currently?
Yeah, not yet. You want me to bring it up? I can.
Yep, sure.
Okay, cool. We're all good now.
Okay, so today we're going to basically create a email message similar to this one, basically a morning weather notification or an alert, where it shows you the forecast for some zip code and some highlights of the day, as well as some meteogram of the um, next 7-day forecast. So it shows you the amount of precipitation as well as the chance of it happening.
So what that's
Um,
a mediagram is basically amount of precipitation and the chance for that
uh,
level.
it can be any weather variable, so like
Mhm.
any meteorological variable, like temperature can also be plotted here, or dew point, or anything related to weather, basically. Weather against time,
Got it. And
time
then
versus weather. Yep.
got it. And what tools are you going to be using to do this?
Yeah, so I'll be using Prefect, of course, and Matplotlib, as well as Snowflake Task Library, part of Prefect's task library. Yeah.
Oh, got it. Cool. And are we? Is it?
hmm
Did I see this correctly? In that is this data from the Snowflake marketplace, data marketplace?
Yep. So to make this easier and we don't have to ingest our own data, we can just directly load data from the Snowflake marketplace, and that data is updated like every so often. So it's really easy to use. I'll show you very soon.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and they've been doing a ton of work over the past couple of
hmm
years, and you're getting more and more data into that marketplace. Of
hmm
course, they want people to use it. So I'm
Yep.
glad we're showing that. Let's hop into it.
Yep. Okay. So the first step we're going to do is basically some setup in Snowflake. So we're going to log in. Well, right now I'm going to log out first to show you. Um, so we log in here, and then after that, we go straight to the marketplace to load some data. So we're going to explore the Snowflake data marketplace, and you should see something similar to this. And once it loads, we're going to search for a weather data set. Um, so there are multiple data sets available. Some of them are personalized, so you can't use them immediately. I think you have to request it. So we're just going to use this one. It's updated, I think, maybe every 6 hours. But yeah, so we just press this get data button and copy it over to our own account. And once it's ready to query, we can just test out the example queries that they have.
And that's free data from the market.
Yep.
From stuff more interesting. Do they? Do you know? Do they have in Snowflake Marketplace? Like I'm assuming they have metered or pay to play data sets in some way.
Yeah. They definitely have personalized data sets as well as the ones that you can pay for, like request data. I think they'll curate it for you. But the one I'm going to use is free. I think it's a sample data set, which is it contains a lot of like high resolution data, historical data. So yeah, here are the example queries that they wrote. So like, if you want to use the weather-based triggers for marketing campaigns, like if you're a reseller of snow tires and you want to know when the first forecast of snow is, you can just run this query, like just like this. I'm just gonna run this one. Simply select the compute warehouse and then press run, and you should get some data back. And it's really easy to use, just like that. You get some data back. And we're going to write our own query. So we're just going to hop over to VS Code and set up our Prefect environment. So here, we just fill out some stuff. Basically, our Snowflake account is basically the stuff that's listed right here. Basically, just copy this part. And that's your Snowflake account. And then Snowflake user is your username, which was AGELLER for me, and password. And then we're going to also email this notification. So we're going to use Gmail. So enter your Gmail username and password here. And then once you're done with this, save it to this file here and export it to export this variable. So we use the local secret saved here. And once we're done with that, we can install some packages. So if you're using an M1 chip, just run this command. If not, just run a pip install normally. And if you also need Prefect or Matlab, just run this as well. These will install all the packages you need to run this example. And this will also be on the blog post later. So if you missed this, it's okay. It'll be on the blog.
People have written instructions too.
Yep.
For sure.
And then, so the query that we're going to run is this simple query. It's a very simple weather query that selects the date, the total precipitation, and the probability of precipitation in percentage from the database. So we're going to demonstrate how to run it really quick, or how I got the information really quick. And so these are the columns that I want to select. And where I got this from is simply from just exploring the sidebar here. So here we can see some views. Since we're looking at forecasts, we want the forecast day view. And once you click it, you should see all these columns available. For me, I'm going to select date valid standard, I think. If I'm not mistaken, that's what the STD stands for.
It must be.
And also the total precipitation in inches, as well as the probability of precipitation in percentage. And if we run this, let's just put an actual postal code. We should get some data back. 1 second. Oh, so we need to put this as a string, or else this will try to parse as an integer, and it wouldn't work, I think. Let me see really quick. Maybe like that. Okay, we need to put it as a apostrophe string. So this, as you can see, once I run this, you get the next 7-day forecast for this zip code 10128, which is in Buffalo, New York, I think. And you can see there's not much rain expected in at least the next 4 days, but maybe some rain in the 5th or 6th day. But forecasts can change. I honestly wouldn't trust anything more than like 4 days ahead. So maybe within the next 4 days, yeah.
With someone with an
be,
with atmospheric data background, I think I'd probably trust you on that for sure.
yeah.
So you're telling me don't look at the forecast beyond 3 or 4 days. Got it.
Try
Just
to look
kidding.
at the probabilistic forecast for beyond 4 days.
Got it.
Definitely not
Okay.
deterministic,
Got it.
because it can change, definitely. So this query works, right? Whoops, I don't know how that popped up, but yeah, you can select any columns here. Like if you want to know the min temperature in Fahrenheit for the next 7 days, just run that. And you should get the temperature. So it's actually pretty cold in Buffalo, New York in the next 7 days. It's only about 55 degrees. So yeah, we're going to copy this query back into our code, which is what I did, and also parameterize the postal code. So later we can check out all the postal codes to query. So I parameterized it here. For now, I'm going to comment out the schedules because we're going to keep it simple and just run it immediately. But we can definitely schedule this every morning to run using this import. But for now, let's start with this part. Here, I'm importing some libraries. So Matplotlib I use for plotting the Mediagram. Prefect to create these robust pipelines on a schedule, as well as the Snowflake task library, as well as the email task. And here's the query that we just copied, which I explained before, basically selecting the date, the precipitation, and the probability from this table, where the postal code is some parameterized value. And we're going to order it by the date, and only see the next 7 days, because after 7 days, I wouldn't trust the forecast as much. And then next up, we're going to basically initialize our Snowflake query task by setting our account, user, password, warehouse, and database. For the first 3 keywords, I'm going to parse it from the secrets that we filled out here and save to the config.tomo file. So this is a nice way to keep your secrets away from code so you don't accidentally commit them to a repository. So it's a safe way to, keep it separate from the code. For the warehouse, I'm just going to use the compute WH, which we can find here. So it's account admin and then compute WH. You probably have a different name. So
That's
just be sure
that's just the
to
default, I
update it.
think, for Snowflake warehouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yep. With the database, we copy this value. So I think you can just either copy it from here, or let's see, if we go to database and click this, we just copy this part over and paste it and just copy the relevant part.
And a quick question
Um,
too from the chat, Andrew Henning,
uh-huh.
so frequent viewer. Thank you very much for joining, Henning, as always.
Yep.
And the question is, what is the benefit of using the Snowflake query task rather than a library like SQL Alchemy? It's like more of a generalized library. And the guess that I would make is that it's set up explicitly for Snowflake. So concepts like the Snowflake warehouse, for example, being able to specify what warehouse you want to use. Let's say your admin has given you dedicated compute resources for a certain kind of query or for your department or something like that. Is that true, or is it for maybe another reason?
Yeah, so basically we have these built-in tasks already with warehouse as like a keyword argument. So you don't have to set up any special setting for your SQL Alchemy. It's just a direct keyword. And I think that's the benefit.
Awesome. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no worries. We're going to do the same for email tasks. So we're going to initialize it with the subject and email too. We don't have to specify the email or password here because it will pull directly from our config.tomo file. So the subject is simply the email subject line. We're just going to call it morning weather notification. You can name it something else, like you can also add the dates or anything you want. And email too, we're just going to email it to my secret email username. And this part, we're going to actually create the message that we want to show in the email. So basically this part, we're gonna create the actual contents of the message. So we're just gonna pull the first row of the data of basically what we see here. We're just gonna pull this row here by selecting the 0 index and converting the probability into a float value and creating the message format. So today, insert date here, forecast for zip code, insert postal code. We're going to either say it's going to have some percentage of precipitation or like some possibility or a chance, depending on what the probability is. Or if it's not going to rain, we're just going to print precipitation not expected, which was what happened here. With this message, you can create as complex as you want. Basically, write anything you care about. Like if you care about really hot weather or like temperatures over 80 degrees and relative humidity over 80%, then you can put like message equals or plus equals. It's going to be a very hot and humid day. So this task, you can customize it as much as you want. For this example, I kept it simple, so it's easy to follow. So if the probability is like 100%, then we're going to put like 100% of some precipitation, or if it's greater than 50, there's a possibility. If it's less than 50, or it's not equal to 0, there's a chance.
Interesting. Andrew, quick question.
Yeah.
What do you prefer, hot or cold weather?
Sorry, what was the question?
What do you prefer, hot or cold weather yourself?
I think I actually prefer cold weather because you can keep wearing clothes.
That's right.
Yeah, so
I'm
I
in,
think I
I'm in
prefer cold.
violent agreement with you. You can continue to put layers on, but you can't continue to take layers off, especially if you're going to be in
Yeah.
public. So no, totally agree. All right, sorry, just
Yeah.
a fun little question.
Yeah, no worries. So the next step is going to create our meteogram. Again, a meteogram is basically a meteorological variable plotted against time. So it can be precipitation against time, a temperature value against time, snow against time, relative humidity, and any weather variable, basically. For this case, we're going to convert these rows into columns. Basically, that's what the zip star does, convert a single or all these rows into columns instead, and saving them into date, precipitation, and probability. And then we're just gonna convert these into float values as well through a list comprehension. And for this, we're going to create a figure, basically a small figure of Matplotlib figure, and create or label the axes with X label, Y label, and title. So the precipitation forecast is usually less than 0.5 inches. This can always, go to max of precip, but for here, we're just gonna keep it small. So it's consistent across all meteograms, but you can specify max of precip here to make it the Y limits reach to the top. So we're basically creating this here, and it only goes up to 1 inch here. And with bar charts, it's always nice to keep the Y limits at 0, or else it can be misleading. So we're going to label the X label date because that's a time series, and Y label as the precipitation in inches. And the title, we're going to name it forecast for the zip code of postal code. So forecast for zip code 10128.
It's nice with the parameter in it and everything. And so you're an ethical data scientist then, in that you don't adjust your minimum y-axis so to be misleading. That's good
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah, we want to see a consistent axis, especially like in email. When you log in, it's nice to just preview it rather than look at the numbers exactly, and get a feel for whether it's going to rain or not.
Mm.
So, yep. Here we're just going to plot the data. So we're going to create a bar chart of the date against precipitation. I just put a little opacity of 0.75. I think it just looks nicer that way, but it's not necessary. And
yeah.
then
So
we're going
what are
to.
your other Matplotlib? I guess like quality of life things. So
Yeah. So you can specify like color if you wanted
Mhm.
red, or like some hex code. I'm not too familiar with all the hex codes besides maybe like 000. I think that's all.
I should probably know the prefect hex codes. I think
Oh yeah.
every so often I can pull one out, but I honestly it's
Yeah.
like
But
I can't
yeah.
remember.
So you can specify the color or like
Nice.
the width, I think, bar width,
Have you ever
height.
used Brunel before?
I have not.
It's a visualization library that I've
Oh,
used, but
cool.
I think
Yeah.
Matplotlib is much more popular, of course.
Yeah. So there's also another one called Holoviews.
Mhm.
I like to give them a shout out too because they make plotting really easy, like especially big data sets. So
That
yeah.
was Holoviews?
Yep, I can actually pull it up really quick.
And I see, like that,
Yep.
Holoviews.org.
Or even HV plot. They make plotting super easy.
Interesting.
With like data frames or stuff like that.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah,
I
I love on Prefect Live.
Mm-hmm.
This is obviously our community it's a broader Python community. So
Mm-hmm.
like I just calling out little unknown
Mm-hmm.
or lesser known libraries I think is really cool.
Yeah, so with HVplot, you can do interactive plots just by doing this, setting the backend. It's
Oh
really
wow,
beautiful.
that's really cool. This reminds me of this is like Hex a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah, you can do a lot of different plots
Can you
and
interact
so
with
many things.
the tables themselves? Up if you go
Yep.
scroll up.
So you can zoom in, zoom out. You can plot area plots and
Wow,
all different types of plots, and
very cool.
it's really powerful. Yeah. But yeah, for the sake of this example, we're going to stick with Matplotlib because it's more known.
Definitely
But
more
it's not.
universal, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we're going to loop through each date, precipitation, and probability, and create a string. So this string is essentially the percentage shown here. So here it shows like 25% or 0%, 0%. This is basically what we're doing here. And we're going to plot it at the date, the precipitation, top, and we're going to plot the text. And we're going to also format the date easily just by running this line and save it to the file. So this is what it will create.
What is that auto format? Is that that's not native Python, is it? That auto
Oh, it
format
is
command?
It is native Python. It's a
Wow.
built-in matplotlib method.
Okay.
It basically makes the x-axis nice without manually doing it yourself.
Cool.
Uh, it'll infer like the date range and format it that way, or like even make it auto rotate so it's not all jumbled up. I
Right.
guess. Yeah. So yeah, this is the create plot method or function or task. And finally, we're going to piece up all these tasks and into a flow. So we're just gonna put this line. So we're gonna name this flow weather notifications as flow, and we're gonna parameterize this postal code. And we can run this in the CLI or anything, or even the UI later. So for now, we're gonna default to 10128. And then with this, the data, we're just gonna use the initialize Snowflake query and pull it from here. Or run this query, basically. Pull the data using this query. And we're going to construct the message using this function and export it. And then finally, using the email task, we attach the message and the attachment. And if we run this, we should get an email. And once it runs, it says all tasks succeeded. And we can essentially get a email message like this in our inbox.
Awesome.
And we can even schedule it just by uncommenting these. So here I have an interval schedule that starts actually a few days before. So let's update that really quick. We're going to make it start at tomorrow at 7 a.m. Using the Chicago time zone, CST. And we're going to run this every day. And you can see an email message every day at 7 a.m. about the weather at your place.
Awesome.
We can also uncomment these and run it, and you should see. Oh, forgot to attach a schedule to the flow here. Okay, I'm just gonna let it finish running first and then rerun it. Yep. So now it knows to wait for the next scheduled run at this time. So yep, I think that's basically it.
That's awesome. No, this is really, really cool. Yeah, so just to summarize, this is, I think obviously you've made a pattern here, right? This is like a very an example that I think you intentionally made a little bit more basic, like using matplotlib as, for example, as the way to manipulate your visualization, but just to show people how easily they can connect to Snowflake, extract some data, and maybe iterate on that data, and then make some sort of result. And then finally, like you just did here, schedule it, which is one of the biggest value propositions of Prefect, is not only breaking those tasks up into individual units of work, but being able to repeatedly schedule that and then see if that schedule is actually successfully completed or not. Let's say, for example, let's just throw an example out there. You run out of Snowflake credits, right? And then presumably your task will fail. You'll be able to see that through your Prefect schedule and the Prefect UI.
Yep. You can see that it fails on the Snowflake query task.
Yep.
These will not run because of that.
And you know, a guy like me who never pays a Snowflake bill, that's a big deal. So I appreciate that. Cool. Well, Andrew, this has been really, really awesome. And any other questions from chat? I think last call. If not, we're going to call it. I really do appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna switch back to large video for this. So again, really cool background. I love your background. I think it's really neat. Any other side projects you want to shout out? I mean, you were showing me something cool the other day. If you want to shout it out, your app.
Oh, my app? I have lots of apps, but
well, the one you were showing me. Yeah,
we can show panel as well. Panel is built next to HVplot, so you can integrate HVplot into panels and create dashboards. You know, these are all developed by Anaconda, which I think is really cool.
That's awesome.
And yeah, you can create very complex dashboards really easily. And yeah.
Would you call yourself more of a data scientist or a data engineer if you had a choice?
At this point in time, I think I'm more of a data engineer. At some point, maybe a data scientist, or at least an atmospheric scientist at the least. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you definitely have more visualization knowledge, I think, than some people here at Prefect, which is I find very interesting.
I worked a lot with visualizations. I've created a lot of dashboards. And
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you very much for coming on Prefect Live. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the chat, for being so participatory, and vote 2 for cold. We had a poll going on. Vote 1 if you liked hot weather, 2 if you like cold.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. See you later, Andrew. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye.